Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our PTO-sponsored parent meeting. I'm really glad that you're able to join us. Thank you for taking time on a beautiful evening to gather and hear questions about how our school year is going to work. It's going to be a different school year for sure, but there's going to be a lot of things that are the same. We're really excited you're part of our McDonald family. We have great teachers that are ready to serve you, and I'm just really glad you joined us tonight. So thank you. I'm going to start with some introductions, and then after the introductions, we have just a series of high-level information to give you, just dates and stuff, information that hopefully will help you get your mind around what's going to be going on for our school year. After that, we'll have some questions. And then we're hoping that all along, anytime during this presentation, you can go ahead and ask questions in the chat box, and then we'll make sure to address those. If you don't hear your specific question, don't worry. We're going to try to lump questions together so we can answer themes of questions for the sake of time. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our team. First off, I'm going to introduce our PTO president, Hannah DeShazer.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Hannah. Sorry, that was my fault on the feedback. You did great. I'd like to introduce to you to our school counselor, Missy Scott.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here.
And we also have with us Eric Dobney. And Eric is our fourth grade teacher, as well as was the principal for the Summer Quest, which was our virtual summer school, I guess you could call it, just recently.
Hello, everybody.
So what we're going to do now is go through some slides, and the slides just have some important information for you, and hopefully you'll find it helpful. Don't forget you can add questions to the screen as we go along. So the first thing I'd like to go through is just some of the important dates. It's just so nice to have a couple of those important key dates in your mind, and it kind of is just anchors the next couple of weeks. So the first date that I would like to let you know about, I'm going to wait for the slides, there we go, is the Chromebook pickup. I'm going to talk more in detail about the Chromebook pickup later. Actually, Missy will, but I do want to let you know that you will need to get a Chromebook for your students if you don't have one personally already, and there'll be information about that in just a minute. Big question or big thing on a lot of people's minds is, when do we get our teacher assignments? That will be coming out to you Friday. That's this coming Friday at 4 p.m. We're hoping to get that out before, but there's so many moving parts. We really appreciate your patience with this as we're trying to make sure the classes are balanced, we have the right kids in place, and we're ready to go. So you'll have your teacher placement in an email form to you by Friday at 4 p.m. Another thing that I'm excited to announce is that school supplies will be provided for you by the school this year. We're going to have things that you need to be successful during your online instruction, your virtual instruction. We'll be passing those out the day before school, which is Tuesday, September 8th. Now, more details will come about that in a separate email, so you can be planning on that just kind of roughly in that afternoon. We'll have some extended times there, so if you need to come after work, we'll be able to see you then. Another important day to understand is that the first day of school is Wednesday, September 9th. Now, the reason I say it's important to understand is because kindergarten starts Monday the 14th. So first, second, third, fourth, and fifth graders are going to be starting on Wednesday, September 9th. Our school day starts at 9:30 a.m. Next thing that I wanted to let you know about is something new you haven't heard about yet, is the Parent Connection meetings. Parent Connection meetings are a chance for our teachers to get to know you as a family and your child in particular during almost like a elementary school conference, where the parent and the teacher will get on a conference call on Zoom and have a chance to really share information about your child. It's a chance to front load just success for your child. The teacher will understand anything that you want to tell them about your child, maybe some of their learning habits, and anything that you think the teacher would be helpful to know so they can help your child be successful. So these Parent Connection meetings, they will be actually happening on the Wednesday, September 9th, Thursday, September 10th, and Friday, the 11th. These will be happening in the afternoon time, and you will get a call from your teacher to invite you to a time that works appropriately for you. If you can't make one of those 3 dates, we will continue to pursue a time that does work later into the next week. So we've got Chromebook pickup, teacher class assignments, we have our school supplies, first day of school, we have our parent connection meetings, and then we have our virtual back to school night. Wanted to let you know on Tuesday, September 8th at 6 p.m., we're going to do a dry run for our first login, which will be the first day of school. So at 6 p.m., you can come virtually to your classroom and see your teacher and get a sense for what the process of getting online for the first day of school will be like. At this point, we're going to go to the next slide and tell you a little bit about how you can, we're going to go back one more. That's all right. We're going to go back a few slides. Thanks for hanging out with us for just a second. There we go. Eric, I was wondering, Mr. Dobney, Eric, would you go ahead and tell us a little bit about this slide here, especially this single platform for communication? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Before I do, I wanted to go, you don't have to go back a slide, but on the previous slide, Mr. Crennel, you said that the materials the teacher assignments for students would be out Friday, September 9th. It's actually Friday, September 4th. It did say the 9th on the slide. That's this Friday. So just wanted to clarify that. As far as the single platform for communication, we'll be using Blackboard this year. There'll be a training for parents, an online video training. The reason behind going with Blackboard is because of all of the various different ways that we communicated across the district, such as Seesaw, Class Dojo, Google Classroom. It got very confusing for families who had multiple kids, multiple schools, and all these multiple platforms. So now all of your kids will be using the same Blackboard platform for communication. So it should make things much easier for you to navigate.
The other piece that we wanted to share with you is that the school district has prioritized a focus on social emotional learning, also known as SEL, to begin the school year. And so what that means is just helping our students to be in their learning ready brain so that they're regulated, they can focus and attend on the instruction that's being presented to them.
Thanks, Missy and Eric. I also wanted to let any families that have students with special education services know that your teacher, your case manager, either case, should be contacting you and should have already contacted you with the specifics of your child's plan. An IEP is an individual education plan, and so there are individual considerations that need to be taking place. So if you have not heard from your teacher, that is highly unlikely, and you will be soon if you haven't. More about that will be coming, but it's such an individual process and decision and setting that we'll talk about it at a later time. Eric, I was wondering, since you had such a recent experience with the Summer Quest, could you tell us a little bit about what the typical school day will look like?
Yeah, so if our families can remember back in the spring when we had to quickly pivot to online learning, the format was a lot of pre-recorded lessons, and it was a little bit frustrating for families, first because it was new, and second because we were all kind of learning together how to make it all work. The last few weeks I was able to be an administrator for our summer school program, where we were using the model that we'll be using this year with our students before we are able to come back together in person. So teachers were live instructing their students with a real heavy emphasis on social emotional learning. We also, of course, tackled our English language arts, math, and a lot of time for movement and things like that to help the kids stay engaged. We all know sitting and staring at a computer screen is really difficult, especially for our younger kids for long periods of time. So our teachers will be working with your kids to make sure they have the opportunity to take breaks, get up, move about, and then get really quality instruction that should be fun for them to participate in. The feedback that we got from the families who participated in summer school was excellent. People were so excited. Our kids were excited. In fact, the last day of school, I saw many of my teachers leaving with tears in their eyes, telling stories of their kids also being emotional that it was their last day together. So it was that powerful. The kids were able to connect with their teachers and vice versa. So it was a really positive experience. And I think you all should, while this is maybe not the ideal situation, ideal would be to be in the classroom with you and with your children live. Given where we're at, this is going to be a much more positive experience for them than you may have experienced in the spring.
Additionally, I will be available to support students and families. As a school counselor at McDonald, my goal is to know every single child in our school and to help them to grow and learn in all aspects of their life. I also hope to be a resource to families and to connect them with any community resources that they might need. I also plan and hope to teach some of the social emotional lessons or guidance lessons in every classroom once a week, and just be a resource to everyone to the best of my ability, which is an honor. I love being at McDonald, and I look forward to meeting all of our students and families.
Another resource that we'll be offering is, of course, support for our students with IEPs in special ed. So we'll have services that are happening for those students within the school. And so again, just to come back to that important group of our students and families, your case manager or your teacher should have contacted you, and we'll be discussing the details of that service with you personally. So this next slide is just an example of what the day could look like for students. And when you look at it, I'm just trying to offer it as a framework, something for you to get your mind around what your students will be doing during the day. When we have a schedule, if you've ever worked with children, and you all have children, so you know this to be true, but when you work with them too, sometimes the best laid plans sometimes go a little bit to the side. And that can be because of the nature of the class. It could be because of an unexpected opportunity for learning. It also could be because the teacher is reading his or her children and trying to make a developmental decision like, okay, I think enough is enough. It's time for a wiggle break, or it's time to do something different. So as you look at the schedule, please know that the teachers that manage this schedule are professionals. They are passionate about your children and where they are developmentally, and will be making decisions and adjustments right live in the moment, so that even though this is a rough framework of what we're trying to do, we will be altering that or being flexible to that as needed. Having said that, as much as the framework is in place as it's shown on the screen, I'm hoping that you will notice an increase of stamina over time. And what I mean by that is week 2, I would expect your students to be able to last through this rigorous schedule to a certain level of proficiency. But a month from then, or a month from a week from now, so that's a funny way of saying it, a little bit later, they'll be able to do much more and have an ability to be stick to task and be productive through a greater period of the time. So I offer this just as a schedule so you can see a couple of the maybe the main pillars of the student's day. But please know, depending on your child's age and how things are going in the class, that there may be some variances to this. I hope that that helps you with what it looks like during the school day. And if you do have questions about that you would like me to circle back to, please make sure to put them in the question and the answer so that we can get to them.
So I'm happy to let you know that we will still have Chromebook distribution available. It's going to be Monday through Friday from 9 to 1, and then again from 3 to 7 daily. And that will take place clear until September 11th, both at Central Valley High School and at University High School. We as a district are currently looking to provide additional internet options and all other resources for families. And so there's more to come on that as well. There is a help desk that is available between 7 and 9:30 and the number is listed there for you. We also just want you to know that iPads are no longer supported or recommended for the virtual synchronous learning. So if you do have one of those, you'll just be able to turn it in to us.
And that's a great point, Missy, because in the past, we've handed out quite a few iPads to our younger students. And those iPads you would want to trade those in for a Chromebook. You can just bring the older iPad to us at the Chromebook distribution site. We'll take that back and give you another device. I'm also excited to let you know in the planning, there's going to be some drive up technical support days where you can come to a few locations throughout the district and receive in-person technical support if you're struggling. And so more information will follow about that.
I am also happy to let you know that we will have free food for everyone, either daily or weekly, located at McDonald. And so this is just a little bit more information about that if you're interested. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out for more information.
One of the things that I want to let you know is that we're all in this together. And our desire, of course, is for the very best for the children. And we want them to be face-to-face. We want them to be with the teacher and learning and having times to be in small groups and be outside and playing. And so our plan is to return to that. I don't know if the right word is released, but I'll use it in this case. As soon as we get clearance or released from the Spokane Regional Health Department, we're preparing right now to be ready to go so that we can quickly transition back to school based on those guidances. So our heart is really to be face-to-face and with the students, and I'm just really looking forward to that moment. I mentioned the word grace because we're all in this together, and it's been really neat to talk to parents on the phone over these last couple of days and just hear them say how supportive. They're like, wow, this is really hard for us as a family, and we appreciate your support. But also, they realize it's hard for us as a school too. And so it's this really neat moment of grace being extended both ways, and we're all in this together. And so as we get into this, please remember to give yourself grace as well. Let's do our best. Our kids are worth it. And as we learn together, we'll get better and better through this process. So at this point, I'd like to have Hannah, our PTO president. And by the way, Hannah, thank you for volunteering to not only be here tonight, but to lead our PTO. It's a really important job, and it provides just a richness to our school and to the experience that our children have that we wouldn't have without a PTO. So thank you very much, Hannah, for being here, serving as our PTO president. What I'd like to do, Hannah, if it's okay, is you're a parent. Why don't you tell us a couple of the things on your mind and questions that you might have, and I'll go ahead and try to answer that, or Mrs. Scott or Eric Dobney will. And then if there's any other questions, our moderator will kind of jump in after you get us started. Okay, so thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Scott, for the introduction. I appreciate it. And I am glad to start the McDonald Elementary School year. The first question is a personal experience I had. I checked out a Chromebook for my daughter who is in a younger grade. She's starting first grade and has not used a Chromebook before. So when I got the Chromebook and turned it on, it asked for an email address, and I wasn't too sure what to put in there. I found out later on, but I was wondering if you or possibly maybe Eric Dobney can help me tell families what you can expect when you turn on a laptop for the first time for your student.
I'll go ahead and answer that. So that's a great question. That's something we came across a lot in summer school. Our 3rd through 5th grade families, the kids were really used to using the Chromebooks because that's how we use those in the classroom. So this was something they did almost daily. With our younger students, our K through 2, they were using iPads for their technology. So they had never logged into Chrome before. So this means that not only were they not familiar with what username to put in or what password, but also they had never logged into our CVSD 356 domain. So they needed to use a temporary password and reset it as their birthday. This is a lot to ask of a family. So I'm assuming the district will be putting out information on this. Hopefully in those videos, teaching people to get on Blackboard and all of that, there'll be some of that as well with logging into Chromebooks. But just know that we expect these kinds of issues to come up as a staff, and we're going to be here to support you. Your child's teacher will be able to walk you through it as well. So hopefully we can iron out those things on our back to school night. So they'll be ready for the first day of school. But if not, we're going to roll with it and make it work, and we'll get it figured out together.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The next question I had is in regard to Blackboard. I've heard lots about it, but I've never have had hands-on experience, and I'd like to kind of navigate through it before school starts. Do you know where you can direct me for resources on where to find like webinars or tutorials on how to navigate through Blackboard?
Yes, Hannah, that's a great question. We have a new system, as Eric had talked about, Blackboard Connect, and that's a really great resource for our families, because whether you have a kindergartner or a 12th grader or 3 kids in between, your main mode of communication between your teacher and back and forth will be through this new system. And so on the website, which is just www.cvsd.org, there is actually an icon right on the middle that says Opening School 2020. And when you click on that, there's resources, including videos about how to use Blackboard Connect and other frequently asked questions, technology support, and lots. And so I would recommend directing you there. And then the other thing that I would say is hold on, because that is a big part of the training that we want to provide to our families. And so your teacher will be reaching out and making sure that you are getting those and understanding that. And then we'll also be reaching out. And then when not hearing from you back, we'll call and make sure that you're getting the messages and work through it. So it'll be something that I could imagine kind of stepping up, and questions helping refine it and get better and better as we go. It has not been introduced to our families. You don't have a login or anything. You haven't missed anything yet. That will be introduced with more fanfare. So you haven't missed anything if you're wondering why you can't log on to Blackboard Connect yet.
Perfect. Thank you. I only have a couple more questions, and then we'll get to the Q&As from the parents that are watching. So last year I struggled printing off or trying to attempt to print off documents from Seesaw that the teacher provided for my student. I know we're on a different platform this year, but what kind of resources will it all be? Online resource or online platform used for the kids interaction, or will there be paper handouts, booklets, or something along those lines to interact with the kids as well?
So for that, Hannah, what we're going to be doing this year is a little bit of a blend depending on what grade level you are. So if you don't mind, I'll just talk the extremes. Kindergartner, 5th grader. They're able to do so much. They have many different skills. As a result, kindergarten will have more paper and pencil time as well as support. When you come to the back to school, no, better be careful, not the back to school, the school supply pickup, we'll have prepared for you not only some school supplies, but some workbook type materials and some printed materials that will serve as a kickoff for the school year. Later on, to be determined, we will also have pickups, so you can grab like a refreshed pack as the teacher's curriculum begins to move forward. We did not prepare that for the entire year, because remember, our hope is that we get back face to face. And so we've got you enough to get started. And then when we run out, we're going to give you some more and some more as we need to, kind of in like a stair-step manner. Just to come back to the 1st grade or the kindergartner and the 5th grade, 5th graders are able to do more on Chromebooks, submit things on Chromebooks through Google Classroom. They will have less paper, but our younger grades will have more paper. Our middle grades will have somewhere in the middle.
Perfect, thank you. So my last question is regarding the structure of online learning. Again, I have a younger student who's going into the 1st grade. are teachers going to expect the same expectations as the kids are in a classroom? Like if they have to go to the bathroom, are they supposed to raise their hand in front of the screen and let the teacher know instead of saying, Mom, I have to go to the bathroom?
I can try to speak to that, and Scott Mr. Crennel can jump in, or Missy as well. So I think about summer school, and this was a shorter time frame than what the kids will be expected to do, once September 9th comes around. But the way that we had classes structured was kind of mimicking a in-person classroom setting. I can envision teachers using different strategies when students need to do something like get up and go to the bathroom. I know there will be built-in breaks and things like that, but obviously everyone's schedule won't align with the scheduled break. So, I can imagine teachers maybe having a signal that a student can use, holding something up like a sign or something like that, just so the teacher knows the kid isn't just dropping off because they're bored or something like that. But all of those things will be teach-tos for our kids. And it'll take a little time to iron out, but that's true in person too. We have to teach to all of these things for the first month of school probably. So it'll be very similar to that. As far as the structure of the day, the sample schedule Mr. Crennel put up earlier kind of laid it out, but just so you're aware, if it wasn't real clear from that, the Zoom platform allows for some whole group instruction where I might be able to see all my students at once on the screen. And there's also a function where you can do a breakout room. During this time, teachers will be able to meet either independently with a student while the others are working independently on things like math, a Zurn math lesson, which will be online, or MobiMax, which is also an online platform. While they meet with their small groups or have students read to them independently. So there'll be a lot of variety throughout the day. And then I guess Mr. Crennel or Mrs. Scott, if there's anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, Eric, that was really helpful. So thank you. There's going to be, the day will flow fairly similar, again, with the ability to be flexible with the teacher based on the needs of the students at the time. But at 9:30, that's when the day is going to start. You're going to start with an activity that brings the kids together and builds the sense of community in the room, or in the virtual classroom, I should say. It'll be some of the items talked about might be some of the social emotional learning that Missy talked about, some check-ins, just ability to start to build connections with students and the teacher. After a period of doing that, the English language arts lesson would start, and that's where the teacher will actually go and be teaching from our adopted curriculum, our English language skills. And they will do that kind of large group to the whole group of kids. After that, some kids will go to independent work while other students will go into a small group with the teacher. During that small group time, they'll have a chance to get individual questions asked, and the teacher can kind of probe their understanding and reinforce areas that may be weak. While they're doing that in a small group, the other students are doing a independent activity. And then if you can just imagine the whole thing flip-flopping, then the other students come to be with the teacher while the others do independent work. You go to a break, you repeat, you go to lunch, you introduce math, small groups, and through the day. On the bookends of either end of the day, kind of holding the day together, will be the social emotional learning, the classroom, culture efforts, and things like that in a class meeting.
Perfect. Sorry. I think that's all the questions I had. I believe we're going to direct to Marla to proctor the Q&A.
Okay, I'm going to start off with, we had a question in the chat room that was about Spokane Regional Health District and how we're working with them. And I'm just going to take that one for Scott. I'm here at the district office, and we've been working hand in hand with the health district. We will plan to return to in-person learning when we have 75 per 1,000 people in our county or less with the COVID. However, we have put a priority on our youngest of learners, and so those youngest of learners will be returning as soon as we have deemed with our health officials that it is safe to do so. So those kindergartners and those little learners will be some of our first students coming back to the school, because we know that that's a priority. And Scott, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add to that?
No, Marla, thank you. I also just want to reiterate how excited we are for that day. It is our passion to serve your family and your students virtually, but also we can't wait to see them face to face. The sound of their laughter, the questions that they have, just that experience of elementary school is priceless. And so we look forward to getting back to it as quickly as we can. Having said that, we're going to make the very most of this because your kids are worth it.
Hi, great. So we have some questions coming through from our parents about support in place specifically for self-paced families, and hoping, Scott, that you can speak to opportunities for socializing and connecting with classmates and their teacher.
Yes, and so just to restate the question, it was well stated, but we have some students that have committed to be 9:30 login, 10 o'clock ELA lesson, and then we also have some students that are going to be more self-paced, and they'll be going through, for various reasons, the learning at their own pace with the support of their parent. So we will have a teacher assigned to our self-paced students, and they will receive support weekly and more frequently if you desire from the teacher. There will also be strategic particular times that could be orchestrated where the student who is going self-paced could join into the classroom. It wouldn't be willy-nilly. It wouldn't just be like, today I'm coming, tomorrow I'm not. It would be kind of more of something that we work out with the classroom teacher, and it's scheduled, it's purposeful. It's not just, I'm peeking over the fence to see what's going on in the class. It'll be more like, let's come to the morning meeting. Let's go to the social emotional lesson that the teacher will be providing. Why don't we go and tune in for something special that's happening, maybe a guest reader or a lesson with Mrs. Scott. So there will be some times where you can do that. And again, that would be the parent of the student reaching out to the teacher and saying, I have some availability to make sure that my student can join the class, and I would like to figure out the best times to do so. Teacher, could you walk me through some of those opportunities? That's how we would handle that. And just so you know, our goal would be to have as very much of that as possible. We would love to have your kids interfacing with their teacher as well as with classmates a lot. And the reason is they're going to learn better. They're going to have better relationships. It's going to make the landing back to school even smoother. So there's even more reasons than that. But those are a couple of the ones that come to mind.
We're having some questions about services like the library. And if you could just talk a little bit about what will be available for students and families.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to have our library open, just similar to how our library in the county is closed right now, except for like drive up. And actually, I shouldn't say, I don't know, I haven't been there. I gather that it's closed and you pick up. For the safety of the children, when we come back face to face, we're going to be doing an idea called cohorting. And the students will be socially distanced within their classroom, but then they will spend quite a bit of their time in that classroom if they're not outside on the playground. So the idea of traditionally moving from my teacher's classroom to a lunchroom, maybe then to a library and then over to the music room, and then having another group of children to visit those same locations and then another is not what our Spokane Regional Health Department recommends. And so the idea of cohorting would be that the students stay with a group of children in their classroom with their teacher, and those types of experience are more pushed in. And so it might not look like the typical go to library, go to music, and go to health and fitness. Instead, the teacher will try to create similar experiences to that to the best of their ability and around the other academic big blocks that they're working around. So it will be quite a bit different this year. To quickly answer the question, so Scott, are my kids going to library or not? No, they won't be able to go to library. We're going to try to bring library type experiences to them, but it is going to be tricky. Our hands are, the amount of cards that we can play are limited because we really aren't keeping the safety, the health and safety of your students as a priority, and exchanging books is something that will have to be foregone at this time.
Can you talk a little bit about physical education this year?
Physical education will happen both virtually as well as when your students come back face to face, because if we don't, it won't work. We need to have our kids active and running around and being just able to outflow some energy so that they can then focus back in on their learning. It will not be the same where they go to a gym and they receive specialized instruction around health and fitness. Instead, it'll be incorporated by the teacher in their daily routine. It will be more things like breaks and stretching and movement. Even I could get out of my chair and do it here, and the teacher will be directing the students even while at home to do those things. And that'll be so that we can have the kids ready to learn and back at it. But unfortunately, we won't be going to gym as we used to. And I already answered that a bit with the cohorting idea. That's just not something that we can do.
Speaking of physical activity, will the school playground be available for use?
Yes, the school playground will be available for use. We will go to it instead of back in the old days when we would have 200 kids out there in the morning playing foursquare and basketball and running. It'll be more cohorted again, where students will go out, get their break outside time with a smaller group of children, and they will have an area of the playground that's sort of dedicated to them. As far as the playground equipment, if you can imagine going down the slide, back in the day, you would have 20 kids at the top of the slide waiting for their turn, and it was a fun place to talk and visit and things like that. We would be more teaching the students how to take turns and be waiting at the bottom, go up, come down, use the swings, things like that. So we'll be trying to find a blend of like the social distancing and making sure that kids are safe and keeping to the idea of cohorting while still having recess.
Scott, one of the big concerns from parents is just support and support available, resources available, the role and the expectations of parents in helping their children be successful, especially if you are a parent of multiple children or very differently aged children.
Missy, will you go ahead and just talk a little bit about some of the resources, and then I will answer more of the multiple children and what it looks like in learning and stuff, but I just wanted to give you a chance to speak a little bit about some of the resources.
Thank you, Mr. Krentel. So just as the school counselor, one of the things that I want to do is connect families with community-based resources. So whether that might be food, clothing, even shelter or transportation, like just basic needs, right? Maybe those are mental health services or mentoring opportunities that are out in the community. I'm like spinning my wheels, trying to think of all the other things. There's just a lot of different things. And so I guess I would just really encourage you, if you have a specific situation or concern, please reach out to me, share your heart, share your concern and what's going on in your situation. And if I don't have a resource at my fingertips, I will do my very best to work for you to find it. I hope that helps.
Missy, I think that totally helps. And if there's a banner over this answer, it is just ask. And that I think is what Missy was trying to say. You should not feel like you're in isolation. You should not feel like you don't have anywhere to turn. You have a team. Your child has a team, the home team and the school team. And your school team is ready. Tap us in anytime when you are stuck. We are here for your success and are really passionate about that. So I guess, as Missy said, is ask. And that would be the first thing. What you can do to start is, first off, give yourself grace and create realistic goals. Week 1, let's get the kids having a space that is dedicated for them. I know it sounds kind of funny, but they might even have their space facing the wall instead of the TV, or facing the, a room instead of the outside, something like that. So can you figure out a space for your student that could help them be successful? That would be a great start. Finding a spot for them to put their Chromebook, make sure that it's charged. Earphones, things like that, so that when they are hearing their class, if you have other students that are in the school, in your home, they're not having to hear the teacher of another student. So really just, I think the early and the first steps is just creating a spot for your students to learn well. And that looks different for every family. So look around your space and do your best to find that spot. If you need help, again, please ask your school team and we want to help you. I'm not sure if I got everything in that question, and I would love it if you wanted to kind of refine the question.
Yeah. I think you talked about the school team and the home team. I think what parents are really asking is, what are the expectations of the home team?
Thank you. That's great. One of the things that we would really hope that you would do is create a place where your student can be successful. First and foremost, that's got to be the starting spot. The second thing is to stay engaged. There will be a roller coaster effect. There'll be times we feel like it's going great, and there's times that you may be discouraged. We can't wash our hands and say, well, I'm done. We have to stick with it. And so we just expect you to be with your school team, ask when you need help, and stick with it. We're going to do our best for our kids, and we may need to, I guess, reach out and ask for help. What else can you do? Ask your child how it's going, provide support for them. If you can, provide encouragement, not on the fact that they got the answer right, but that they're trying hard, and just speak into their lives. You're the most important person in their life. Offer them some tidbits of like, I'm proud of you. I see you working hard. I really like to bring forward the working hard part, because it's not about that they got the answer right, because you know what, tomorrow they might get the answer wrong. They don't want to think that your support is conditional on them getting it right. Instead, it's more about, hey, I see you doing your best. Let's keep doing that. And then I'm proud of you. So if you can provide a place for them to learn, if you can provide a steadfast support, even when you might be tired of this yourself, and then make sure that you reach out to your school team, I think that'll be a good recipe for success.
Great. Along with supporting parents at home, one of the concerns that's come forward is just children's mental and emotional health. What to do if they're encountering feelings of depression. How could that potentially impact their learning? We heard a little bit about some of the supports available. Our parents are asking to speak a little bit more about social and emotional learning. What is that? And maybe some resources or advice in this area.
Well, it sort of seems like my realm, so I'm going to try and take it. So social emotional learning essentially is just the things that a classroom teacher is going to do to help a student be ready to learn. Setting up the expectations, teaching to those expectations, and then reinforcing those expectations. There will be some built-in incentives and recognition that kids are going to get for following the expectations that are laid out. And those are going to be really clear. Those are going to be so clear that I think our kids are either going to have them memorized, or you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I got it. I know what the 3 B's are, and I'm sick of hearing about it. So just know that will be a big part. Routines and structure in our virtual classroom are going to help our kids to feel grounded. They're going to know what's coming. And when we know what's coming, like even us as adults, right? That's what we're trying to do right now, is help you to know what's coming. It helps us to feel at peace and grounded and better about what we're stepping into. And so that is one of our major goals with social emotional learning. The other pieces that we have are just the standalone guidance lessons, right? So we're going to be teaching students about regulation, empathy, problem solving, bullying prevention, right? So there's like a gamut of really rich resources that are all research-based, best practices that are going to be presented to your students. I guess the other thing I would just say to you is, again, like in your specific situation, please call me, email me. I care deeply about your student, and I would like to support them with their emotional and mental well-being. And if I'm not feeling like I'm enough, then I'm going to refer out, and I'm going to give you 3 or more resources or referrals out into the community. I know that there are teletherapy, so therapy via the phone. There is virtual therapy like this, and in some cases there are face-to-face counseling options available for kids and families. And so please just reach out. I cannot say that enough, and just know that, yeah, I don't know, we just love your kids and care for them and you, and want to be supportive in whatever way we can. I hope that that answered the question.
Missy, that was, I think, did answer it. I think you made it really clear. One of the things that used to help is when we could see the child face to face and you could see how they are even carrying their body or maybe how they're acting on the playground. Some early leader indicators that maybe they're not doing as well. And so we won't be able to see those as caring adults in their lives. And so that is where you as a parent who knows your child the best, and we believe that and trust that, tipping us off, so to speak, and saying, I think my student is struggling with this. They're not as motivated as they're used to, or whatever the case is. And you can help direct the team to come and support. And that could look like maybe there's a small group of students that Mrs. Scott pulls together and she reads a story. And that story talks about a character. And the character is going through a problem that, imagine that, a lot of the other kids are even thinking about themselves. And then she's able to problem solve kind of in a third person for that character and walk the kids through some solutions for that. And so it's really a great question. And it's the fundamental question to what we do here is how do we take care of our kids on that social, emotional in their hearts so that we can then get to their minds. The heart has to be first and making sure that the kids are well. And so we will rely upon you to tell us. And then you need to also know that we have we're actually calling it a social emotional playbook that the teachers will be given. And it has lessons that lay out on Monday, the first week of school, on Thursday, the 5th week of school. There's lessons laid out that are thought out by a team to bring you through like this thoughtful process where you're being presented explicit instruction about how to name your feelings and about what to do when you're feeling them and walk you through solutions to problems. And so a great question, an important one. And I believe that the district and any school where Missy Scott works will be taking that on full force.
Thank you. I'm going to be pulling up the school schedule now. And this was the virtual example elementary schedule. And we just had some questions, I think, wanting your team to elaborate on the child's experience during the day, really emphasizing where is that interaction taking place and kind of time with teacher.
Eric, I'll go ahead and give it a start. And if you would back me up with any clarifications or anything that you would add from summer school, we'll just get it going. So thank you for the question. I think what I'll do is just start kind of running through it from top to bottom and then hoping to answer the question. But then about halfway through, it begins to repeat except for math. And so I'll probably take a quick break and go back to the question and let our moderator let me know how I'm doing and maybe even refine the question if I haven't nailed it. So when you look at this schedule, if you see the light blue times, imagine that as the whole group lesson. So that is when all of the students in that teacher's class are together. The 9:30 to 10, that's when the social emotional playbook, the cell learning that we just spoke about in the last question, that's when that will be happening. That's when the story will happen. That's when the sharing will happen. That's how was your weekend? That's just being people. That's just building classroom etiquette. It's building expectations. It's building a sense of community. Then you'll see it pivots at 10 o'clock to instruction time. And it's a small group English language arts instruction. And what we're talking about there is taking a group of children and going through a specific lesson as if they were in school. It's actually the same curriculum. I'm going to the same book and I'm looking at the same lesson and I'm delivering the lesson. While I'm doing that, there's another group of children who are doing independent work. And what that means is something on MobyMax or IDR, which stands for independent reading, something that the teacher is assigned that's meaningful for the child's learning to happen, but it can happen without my interaction. So boys and girls, go get on MobyMax, spend some time. MobyMax will walk you through a specific set of learning activities based on yourself as a learner. IDR, you're reading a book, you're doing that independently. During that time, I'm taking a small group of children that I know are having either a particular, that are on a particular spot of their learning journey to the next step. And so maybe it's providing feedback on their writing, or reading together on the screen and saying, oh, that was great use of the context clue, or, oh, I noticed you made that mistake. Here's how you could correct it. Those kind of things, but in a smaller setting. Then you'll notice as you go down, some of the students have been offline or more independent. Everyone comes back together, and the blue line goes all the way across the 10:30 to 11. This is where maybe new content, whole group instruction happens for the entire class. So this is back where everyone is so to speak on the same page. Whereas before, some kids were broken up doing this activity and some were in that activity. When you are yellow, and not in these blue boxes, but more yellow, that reflects independent time. And so that could be a variety of activities, but the blue would be an activity that is all together. And then you can see that it repeats. Talks about being a reader or making meaning. That's teacher jargon for part of what they talk or what they teach when it comes to English language arts. Being a writer has to do with writing. And so again, you'll see the whole lesson, small group, independent, and then repeat. At this point, it kind of repeats. And so what I'd like to do is go back to the moderator and have him re-ask the question if he doesn't think I'm hitting it.
I think you answered that question really well. And I think we can transition into a related question, which is communication with teachers. So what tools are available for parents to communicate with the teacher? What are the preferred methods of communication? And just sort of what can parents expect?
Eric, would you take that one?
So the Blackboard platform will be a way that you can, so our building, McDonald, was a Seesaw building. Every teacher used Seesaw, and it was really pretty convenient because teachers could actually get messages on their phone through the app or see it in their Seesaw page on their computer. Because we're going away from Seesaw, Blackboard will take the place of that. Honestly, I think emails and phone calls are still going to be probably the quickest way to get a response from your teacher. I know the McDonald teachers are all in with you, and they will be checking emails, voice messages often. And the key to this whole thing being successful is going to be constant and clear communication between teacher, school, and family. So.
Eric, that's exactly what I was hoping you would say. I think that's exactly right. There will be the digital tool of Blackboard, but then the old school phone call, the old school email is really great. And what I'd really like to encourage you families is to be an advocate for your child and for your needs. Sometimes it's hard to be a mind reader and know what it is that you need. And so reach out and paint the picture of what's going on for your child. Let us know about your child. In fact, at those family connection meetings that will be happening on September 9th, 10th, and 11th, it's a great time to tell the teacher about your child. What makes them tick? What could we know about them so that we can come alongside of them in their learning and in their life? And so being an advocate, talking to your teacher about what they need, talking to your school counselor. And we also at times will have teams, and we'll pull together a team and say, hey, let's talk through something. And Mrs. Scott, the school counselor, the teacher, myself, and you can all get together and we can brainstorm some solutions. So communication, there's lots of flavors. Just pick one that works for you, and we're committed to answer.
I'm going to turn us over to nutrition, and hoping you can talk a little bit about the nutrition and lunch program, any associated information related to cost especially, and maybe just a little bit of information about the nutrition of the meal itself.
Well, as the guy who just ate lunch a little bit ago, this is not my specialty. However, I will let you know that there's a ton of information on the website about that. And so specific questions about certain nutritional values of meal sets or things like that, there is a person who would be able to answer that, but unfortunately I am not the person. The meals are highly, they're very well thought out to be nutritionally balanced. And we're trying to make sure that we are not providing I don't know if empty calories is the right way of saying it, but that we're providing a nutrient-rich meal for the children, while doing so in all kinds of other difficult ways of like handing it out over the curb of the, through the window of the car. And so there are some more limitations than we used to have the offer bar where there's fresh fruit laid out and the kids could just select as much as they wanted. So I don't mean to be dodging the question, but specifically about the nutritional value, all I know is that it's highly regulated and thought about, and we try to provide the very best if we can. I know that Marla was and is on the call. And if you had a question that you would like to follow up with, maybe Marla could speak to that as well, because she's been working, I believe, with food service as well. Marla, are you on the call, and would you like to weigh in on that one at all?
Yes, we actually just received a waiver from the state. I'm not muted. I'm sorry about that. Talking without unmuting. We received a waiver from the state this week. So we will be able to offer free food to our students, all students, for the beginning of school. So we're excited to be able to do that. And that will be both daily and weekly at the school. So you can pick it up daily right there at the school if that works for you. Or if you'd rather pick up 5 meals at once, you can do that weekly on that Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So we've provided a variety of options for you to make sure that your tummies are full and we're good to go.
Great. I think that answered the questions regarding nutrition, or at least pointed our parents to more resources. I want to come back to one of the questions we asked earlier, which was support at home. And I realize we answered that question maybe generally, and there was one set of questions really related to younger children and helping them navigate these new programs that they're going to be using, and also just the nature of being younger children and newer to a schooling environment. Can you guys talk about that a little bit more?
One of the things I think the teachers will do is they don't take anything for granted. We realize that these are 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds or 7-year-olds, and we can't just assume they know what right click is or they know what press and hold is. And so there'll be a lot of really explicit instruction that is scaffolded down to where the child is. And I'm happy to report that we have a great group of professional teachers who understand how to take an end goal and back it up in bite-sized informational bits with the end goal in mind. And so if the teacher wants this goal of submitting a paragraph through Google Classroom, there will be multiple steps along the way. It will take a while, especially for our younger students. If you think about using a trackpad instead of a touch screen, that's a big jump. So we're going to be providing mice for our younger students so that when you have that Chromebook at home, they don't have to use that touchpad to get started with. They can use the mouse. That will help them point and click. Thankfully, we have some digital natives out there. And what I mean by that is kids that are grown up with technology and understand it better than we do. So they are fast learners. Even though that is the case, the teacher will break it down into small steps. If your child is struggling with a particular part, it may not be apparent to the teacher. And so you might need to let them know as a parent that that is a need that they have and reinforce. There are parents out there that will actually say, okay, I don't know how to do this, teacher. Can you teach me so that I can support my child? And I want to let you know that that's a legitimate question, and we're happy to help with that. So I think to get to the real meat of it, you're going to have to take it case by case and work with your teacher, who will be breaking it into small chunks.
Great, thank you. This is going to be the last question. So Scott, perhaps after providing an answer to this one, you can provide some closing remarks before we wrap up our presentation today. But the last question is related to the Chromebooks. We heard a little bit about them earlier. Can you just give a little bit of a recap on that program and talk about appropriate use of the Chromebooks?
Eric, do you mind giving that one a go, and then I'll finish up?
Are you good? Okay, sure, I can try. I'm not sure. So specifically, just appropriate use of the Chromebooks. I think the most of the problems that people were having with the Chromebooks was just that login process. But I think that's something we can solve hopefully before school starts or within those first few days. I guess, can I ask maybe a clarifying?
I'll clarify. But can you just talk a little bit about appropriate use, meaning in relation to school, personal use? Can they use it for socializing, communicating with family and friends, etc.?
I can try to answer that. That might be a Mr. Crinnell question, but I would say that Chromebook is theirs to use at home for school first and foremost, but if they're using it for other purposes, I don't see why. I mean, we trust our families will be monitoring the use and hope it will be used appropriately in that way. I'm going to punt to Mr. Crinnell, I think, to answer that.
Yeah, so I'm going to, as I've done before, thank you, moderator, for your guidance. I'm going to give it a go, and then I'm going to come back and ask for clarification if I'm doing okay. The Chromebook is a tool. And so just like a drill gun or a hammer is a tool. And so a parent will be responsible to provide that judgment call about their child and the tool. And the reason I used a hammer is because we actually put the hammers away when we're not using them. Not only because we don't need them around, but you can hurt yourself with them and we don't want our little children playing with them. So the Chromebook is probably best used as a tool. So there's a level of familiarity. If it's always around and you use it for YouTube and you use it for entertainment and you use it for this and you use it for that and it's always available, it might not be as productive as a tool as you want when it's time to do the learning. And so what I would do as a parent, and I would ask our parents to do for their children, is to use that tool in the space as it's designed. And if you do that, you will reap a greater benefit from the tool. If it's available for entertainment, for gaming, for whatever else, that will lose some of its effectiveness. There won't be any way. All we can do is encourage that. And of course, we can try to educate around that belief, but that will be something that as a parent will come to you to take care of. The other thing I wanted to let you know, and it can be helpful for a family, is that the district is providing you this device. In doing so, they're also providing your child access to the internet. That is not something that they take lightly. And even though it is on your internet provider, the device is still provided by the school district. And so there are filters, notifications that come back to the district when that device is being used inappropriately. That is really great and important because the school district is providing you with a tool and not trying to provide a door into things that are not appropriate for your child. And so I actually receive notifications when a Chromebook is being used inappropriately. I don't know that it catches 100% of the things, but it does catch some things. And so a call could be made to the family that says, just wanted to let you know that this is what's being used. The teachers will also be teaching to how to use the Chromebook when they're online. We all know about tabs, and in fact, probably many of you might now even have multiple tabs going on your computer. No judgment. But as you're learning, that's really hard. So we'll be teaching the students to stay focused at one task at a time. To some extent, especially for our younger students, the idea of multitasking on multiple tabs while your teacher is talking is not appropriate. And you can't really do it well. And so we'll be teaching to that specifically. So I'd like to take a time out on that one and go back to the moderator and see if you can refine the question for me and see how I'm doing.
I think you definitely answered that question. Thank you. And so if you would offer some closing comments, then we'll be ending the presentations.
You bet. Thanks. Well, first off, I want to thank you. You have lots of things to do. There's probably a load of laundry in the wash. There's probably some dishes, some food. Anyway, we appreciate that you took time to invest in your child's experience this year. It means a lot to us. It's hard to get information out, and so you took the time to come seek it. So I really appreciate that, and I hope you find that as encouraging as we do, because in partnership, we're going to do great things for the students. So first off, thank you. And of course, thank you to the team, Hannah for being on our PTO and being our president, as well as to Missy Scott being our counselor, and Mr. Domney for being an outstanding teacher. We appreciate your time here. The other thing that I'd like to say is that It's a privilege to be on this journey. You're the parent, they're your children, and we get this outlandish experience and privilege of coming alongside of you as you raise your kids. And so we take that very seriously, and we find it an honor and a privilege. And so we are open to feedback. We are open to doing it better, but just know where our hearts are. We're starting from the very same place of care for your child. And so we'll need grace to get through this, but we're going to do our best. And we're looking forward to that. And then the final thing, if I could, if there's someone on the moderating team could put up the slide about the upcoming dates, I would just like to really quickly run through those again, because man, information and knowing what's coming is really helpful so you can get the most out of that. So if you just give us a second, we'll be jumping back over to that schedule. And I wanted to make sure that I correct the date that I did incorrectly. So I'm going to run right through it again. Chromebook pickup happening right now and will continue to happen. Teacher class assignments will be this Friday, which is the 4th of September. And that'll be happening through an email. School supplies will be picked up at McDonald drive-through style on Tuesday, the afternoon of Tuesday, September 8th. The first day of school is September 9th, starting at 9:30. Parent connection meetings will happen after a small time online with your students in the morning. Teachers will be on at 9:30, but then teachers will sign off and then begin making the Zoom calls to all of you to have parent connection meetings. Remember, the focus on that is getting to know your child. And then our virtual back to school night will be September 8th at 6 p.m. And that's just a time to make sure the microphone works, come see your teacher for the first time, and really get into a little bit of the how is this going to work. It'll be a drop-in event. It won't be a very long presentation. And then I'm going to go out on a limb here. On September 15th, if I'm doing my math right, it's the following Tuesday, we're actually going to have a curriculum night. And I apologize that it's not on this slide. I will have to send it out to you. But on September 15th, which is a Tuesday at 6 p.m., we're also going to be having what's called a curriculum night. It's a terrible name, but it's a really great night, because what you get to do is you get to tune into your teacher's class, and the teacher will walk you through a little bit about who they are as an individual, who they are as a teacher, what some of the goals are for the classroom and for the year. And so that's an event that you will get in an email and get other kinds of reminders about, but I wanted to let you know about that. Looks like a last minute question came in, and it's about maybe a virtual jumpstart. And so I'm not sure exactly what that means, but we used to have an idea of jumpstart, and that's for our kindergarten kids. And the idea of jumpstart was for them to, where's the bathroom? Where's the front door? And where's the playground? And when I get lost, what do I do? Unfortunately, we won't be able to have the the jumpstart. So instead, we'll be having family connection meetings. And at this point, that's the very best that we can offer. When we bring our students back face to face, I could see the teachers doing a sneak peek for our kindergartners to try to address some of those issues of where's the bathroom and where do I line up. But that would be decided later on when the regional health department lets us do that. So thank you for putting up that slide. Thank you very much for being with us. It was really a privilege to serve your families, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening.